This meeting is being recorded.
All right, welcome to the meeting of the Conservation Commission for Wednesday, February 1st. The time is just after 6 p.m. Consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. As usual, continue to check the updates on the city's calendar for the new Zoom links for the upcoming meetings and the call-in numbers. They'll also be posted on the agendas for each meeting. And we'll start off the roll call of the commissioners present. Member Charpentier.
Here.
Member Cook.
Here.
Member Gradwell.
Here.
Member Sargent.
Here.
Member Sherman.
Here.
Member Bella.
Here.
And Member Jackson.
Here.
All right.
Always good to see. Okay, first up is our administrative briefing. Anything to talk about in there? That window, Chuck?
Yeah, I guess I just want to mention for anybody that is following the proposed floodplain zoning regulation changes, there will be a hearing at the City Council for the meeting on February 14th.
And what's the substance of that meeting?
Pardon?
What's the substance of that meeting? Just to discuss the new, are they just?
I think it'll be a public hearing for the proposed changes. So folks that want to speak for or against should attend that meeting.
Is it a Zoom?
It is, yes. Okay. It'll be a remote meeting.
All right. Okay, anybody want to talk anything about the flood regs coming out? So those are like regulations, so they are going to change the way Gloucester does business here, so keep your eye on that. Next up is the public comment period of the meeting. This is the period where the public is welcome to speak towards any conservation issues that are not, I repeat, not on tonight's agenda. You may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 22 attendees and there is one hand up. We've got Mary Ann.
Okay. Mary Ann?
Hi, Marianne Albert Boucher, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I know I spoke with you a couple of weeks ago in regards to the creek situation, and there had not been a report out yet. And I know that the report has become public, but I'd like to know if the Conservation Commission is going to push for maybe a presentation of this. And where is it going from here? Is it being turned over to the DPW for further inspection? If so, what is the plan for inspection? And I'm looking for where this is stemming from, and I'm hoping that all of you are also looking for that same answer, where this goes through the salt marsh and, like I said, wildlife, human life, sea life, all of that.
I'm sorry, Miriam, I missed the beginning. You broke up. What is your issue? What are you talking about?
Can you hear me?
I can. I just
Okay. I was here a couple of weeks ago and I was pushing to find out where the creek final report was. I know it came out to the public. And I know it came out to the public, but I'm really asking all of you who seek to take care of, protect and preserve our wildlife, marsh life, sea life, human life. Maybe is the city going to do a presentation? The $120,000 consultant, the report came out, but there weren't any definitive answers. Are we going to continue with that? Are we going to find out where it's stemming from? Is the public going to be able to find out where that is stemming from? I think that it is owed to the public to know what's going on. And now we've got the pumping stations releasing raw sewage into where I'm concerned. I'm very concerned for human life, wildlife, sea life, marsh life, you name it. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking for the Conservation Commission to really step on board, show support to get some answers because this is a major problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else, Chuck?
There are 24 attendees now and no other hands are up at this time.
Okay. So I know we did talk about this. I was not here last week, but the week prior, do we have any information that we can disseminate to the public? I guess if it's out, but I haven't seen it yet.
The report came out. It is available on the city's public health portion of the website. At this point, it's not completely conclusive exactly where it's coming. There's a couple potential leads that DPW is going to continue investigating. So at this point, I think DPW is leading further investigations. I'm sure once they come to a final conclusion, it'll be made available to the public. It's an ongoing process as far as I understand.
I see.
But
Okay.
I continue to follow up with folks to.
Got
Chuck,
it.
I much appreciate the fact that you forwarded us that email that had all the information, and would very much appreciate if you would continue to do so as more becomes available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Chuck. Okay, does anybody, so you didn't see anyone else with their hands up to talk?
There are no other hands up at this time. No.
Seeing none, hearing, none, I'll close the public hearing period of the meeting. Next up is minutes review and approval. I believe we have January 18th and September 7th and we have a quorum, so we can move that, I guess.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve as amended the Conservation Commission meeting minutes of January 18th, 2023, and of September 7th, 2022.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yes,
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Sherman.
Yes.
Member Gulla.
Abstaining from January 18th. I'm okay with September.
And Member Beth.
Yes.
And we're able to read the minutes for January 18th, Rob?
Yes.
Say
We
that
read.
again?
Did you review the minutes from the January 18th meeting?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
No.
The
Talking to Member Gulla since he was not here at the meeting on January.
I did listen to the audio. Okay, we good? Are we all good, or do I need to do something else?
I think we're good.
Okay. So, other business, Chuck, anything else to add?
I don't have anything at this time, no.
Okay, we're moving on to continued business. We got NOI 28-2827, 105 Wingersheek Road, lots A and B at Wingersheek LLC, Joel Pavazza, Legal Seaside Solutions representing. Is he here?
I don't see him. I don't see him on our list. I have not heard from him recently, so
There's nothing new in the file.
yeah.
I-
He hasn't.
Shall I move to continue to the next meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028-2827 at 105 Wingersheek Road, lots A and B, to the Conservation Commission meeting of February 15th.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Carpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
yes,
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Sherman.
Yes.
Member Gulla.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Yes.
Next up, notice of intent 0282884, 284 Atlantic Road, Stephen Klaus, construction of a retaining wall, an existing yard and removal of deteriorated fieldstone wall in coastal bank, coastal beach, subject coastal storm flowage.
This Bill, I'm going to recuse from this. I wasn't at the last meeting and I did not review the videos, the audio. believe there was only 4 people present at that meeting, so I'm gonna recuse just so I don't screw up the vote somehow if it gets that way again.
Yeah, well, before we go down that road, I did get a late email from the representative. There's going to be a change in who's representing that project for the client. I don't have a date to continue it to, but there's not going to be anybody here tonight to speak to the project, as far as I understand. So I think we will need to continue that one.
Okay, to the next meeting? Yeah, might as
Yeah.
well and
Okay.
continue it from there. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282884 at 284 Atlantic Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of February 15th.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gulla,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes,
Okay, next up, notice of intent 0282893 28 and 30R and 30 Beechcroft Road, Martin and Marina Dobbins. Construction of an addition to an existing single-family home in riverfront area and buffer zone to Salt Marsh. William Manuel of Wetlands and Land Management representative.
Then again,
Good evening.
Commissioner Cook will be recusing from this one and the next one.
Okay, for the record, Bill Cook is recusing.
All right. Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management. And this is our third hearing. I think we are down to discussion of trees and shrubs. I've gone back to the clients. I've expressed the commission's concern with the number of trees proposed to be removed. And they did take a very hard look at it. I guess it would be appropriate to share my screen and I'll share with you what they've come up with. So we had a total number of 18 trees that we were removing, and now we're down to 16. And they've selected these 2 trees that were in the garden area where they'd like to have their raised gardens and clover ground cover. And they're the farthest away from the home, from the addition. They don't interfere with any of the work. So that was, they said, okay, even though they were desiring an open area for their gardens without much canopy, they felt that they could do without removing these 2 trees. So we're down to 16 trees. We are going to replace 2 to 1. And I got the sense from the commission that you wanted to see the trees rather in, I had said, in areas of opportunity because of the remaining part of the lot is heavily wooded. I got the consensus from the commission that you wanted to see the trees closer to the resource area. So I have amended the tree and shrub removal and replacement to say that the trees should be replaced at areas of opportunity, but within the coastal bank, which means this green line is the coastal bank here. So we are limiting the replacement to between the salt marsh and the top of the coastal bank. So all in this area here. We had a suggestion to you to substitute some shrubs instead of trees. I didn't get a sense that that went over very well, so I just removed that. However, there was a commission member volunteered that if you wanted to put other shrubs in, you certainly may do that, and we will. These areas that are designated for, to comply with the Gloucester mitigation policy, we will vegetate these with native shrubs. And while I was over here, I should have pointed that out to you, that here's the spec for installing shrubs within these areas designated for mitigation. So that completely covers the increase of impervious area. And we've also covered the 2 to 1 tree replacement. So I hope the commission looks favorably on this. This is a fairly modest project and have gone through the alternatives, and, you know, they're looking at going up instead of out, and it is a small, it's 22 by 24 and an 8-inch garage addition. So that's fairly small. So they've gone through an effort to, since they've owned the property, to maintain the wooded character. And when you have over 230 trees on the property, I think it's inevitable that when you have an addition like this, that some of those trees are going to interfere with the addition. The ones that are proposed to be removed, some of them interfere directly with the driveway and the shed relocation. Some of them are, I think there are 5 trees that are within 25 feet of the house or the addition, and there's 4 others that are within 30 feet. So these are 80-foot tall trees. They're all within strike distance of the new addition. So I don't think that's unreasonable. So the owners have made a concerted effort to keep the property natural as much as possible. And in this proposal, they've made a concerted effort to try and work with the commission as much as possible. So again, I hope you look favorably on this 3rd revised plan, and hopefully we can move to approval tonight.
Okay, first up, I'll open up the public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 28, 30R, and 30 Road? May do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We have 21 attendees, and there is 1 hand up. I don't see a name associated with it. But...
Christopher Cephalo. Can you hear me? Christopher Cephalo.
Yes, we can. Go ahead, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much, Council Commission. Hey, this whole issue, as he just began to say that the landowner or the owner has gone ahead and maintained the trees. I submitted a picture, an aerial picture of 2010. Those trees are all gone. He has not maintained the integrity of the trees. But we still have a whole big process of wetlands, river, and coastal marshes. And also, what about the beginning conversation of the woman saying that there's going to be a new floodplain? I believe this whole process needs to be stopped until the new floodplain comes out so we can exactly see where it is. That's an utmost. And folks, you all follow, it's my understanding, the Article 2 of wetlands. In number 1, the purpose of this article, provide that the land of the city of Gloucester is subject to a seasonal or periodic flooding as described in section 1224. Well, if we go to 1224, you all folks know, I'm sure, what 1224 is: pre-acquisition violations. I wouldn't say this gentleman has been under pre-acquisition violations. He has gone ahead and done the violations himself. He has gone ahead and done flagrant abuse to the environment. I hope you all see that. And then let's flip over to another Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. Massachusetts Chapter 131, Section 40. No person shall remove. Phil, I know you folks did a site visit and you saw fresh stone. Did the Conservation Commission issue a permit for dumping or filling of stone? I wasn't notified, and I think that's all kind of new to you. And I really hope that you look at it, because these two articles deal with this piece of property that he's flagrantly abusing. It needs remediation to make it back to the original condition. I implore you, wait for this flood zoning to see where it sits. The past 2 months when we've had flooding, the marsh has flooded up to the bottom of that lot. Witham Street has been inaccessible. The person who is promoting the Good Harbor Beach Creek issue had some great photos of the water and the water coming through the marsh into the creek, into the pond off of Witham Street. This is crazy. So please take into consideration the new flood plan and wait for the results to make your decision, because he's gonna do land movement and it's gonna ruin everything. Please take that into consideration. I implore you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
There are no other hands up at this time.
Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, close the public comment period. Commissioner comments, we probably should go through those next.
Okay, roll call. Member Charpentier.
I'm just interested in if the others in the commission are on board with what this participant just said about waiting until the floodplain definition comes in. Or
Member Cook. Oh, sorry. Member Gradwell.
My only suggestion is, after talking with John Fina, is that we kind of put the trees and then the bushes between. If you're going to do anything like that, he says, try to replicate what was there. A variety of everything. Replacing some of the trees with bushes wasn't a problem with him, that the whole situation was replication.
In the quality of the replication, I would say. Okay.
Member Sargent.
Thank you for proposing to locate all of the mitigation trees into the coastal bank rather than outside the coastal bank and riverfront area. That the proposed additional shrub plantings should provide sufficient wildlife habitat. There should be a 2-year monitoring with mitigation plantings. Thank you.
Member Sherman.
I guess what Mr. Manuel just said is that right now, the plan is to put 32 trees down in that coastal bank area, which I suggested at our previous hearing, about the creating a more ecologically diverse planting plan. If all these trees are to be planted right down that coastal bank, during a extreme flooding event, if these trees or whatever is planted there don't have some salt tolerance, it seems like none of them are going to survive. So I think it's really important. I don't, again, as I stated at the last hearing, I don't think it's, absolutely necessary for 32 trees to be try to stuff down in there at any size. And I'd like to see a more diverse planting of both trees and shrubs. And, among the list that Mr. Manuel provided with us at the last hearing.
All right, Member Billow.
I echo the most of the comments. I would say that it's probably best that, I don't know when they're going to meet with the city for the flood changes. I don't know if you know when that's going to happen, Chuck. But would the applicant be willing to wait to see what happens there? And also possibly doing a little more refinement to the planting plan. That's it for me.
And Member Jackson.
I appreciate what the applicant has done. I think they've done a lot of work and had some of their hopes dashed by not being able to remove trees to get an unshaded garden. Sacrifice that. The applicant has every right to ask for a vote tonight without waiting for the flood standards, although certainly it is their option. I thought, along with Mr. Sherman, I also thought that we had reached a consensus that we didn't have to have all 32 trees, or 36 at the time we were doing it, I guess. But it could be that some of those trees could be replaced with shrubs in and among them, which I think would be very nice.
All right, Mr. Manuel, I don't know if you want to respond to any of that.
Absolutely.
Right, if I could, just before, if I have a moment, just to respond to the flood zone changes. It's not going to be a change in the flood zone mapping. It's a change to what type of building can happen in the V zones and the A zones. And currently, all of the proposed building on this plan is outside of the land subject to coastal storm flowage. So changes in the zoning are not going to affect this proposal because they're not proposing anything in the flood zone. So.
Okay,
Yeah,
go.
thank you. Thank you, Chuck. That was going to be my first clarification. The flood maps are not changing. It's only new regulations for work in the flood zone, and we are outside of that flood zone. As I pointed out to you at the very first meeting, the flood elevation is listed at elevation 16 here, and if the floodwaters ever reached elevation 16 this high up in the marsh, we're all in big trouble. So we are not interested in waiting for any zoning regulations because they don't affect this property. With respect to Commissioner Gradwall, we are replicating what was there. We have selected a mix of native species that are found on the site. So we are attempting to mitigate what is there. It's generally the first thing you do is look left and right and you see what's there and you try to mimic it because that's obviously doing well. 2-year monitoring, not a problem whatsoever. That's kind of standard. We expect it. To Commissioner Sherman, I wish I had a stronger consensus at the last meeting. I'm disappointed that I have to come back to a third meeting to talk about your mitigation policy. And unfortunately, this just is time for my client and money for my client. And I felt like I had to go where the commission has generally ruled in the past, and that is they want trees for their trees. If there's an opportunity perhaps at the pre-construction meeting to have that discussion of where shrubs may be more appropriate instead of trees, then I think that should be written in as a condition. But at this point, I just need to go forward with what's on the plan tonight. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Manuel, you want us to move to a vote or what do we?
Yes, please.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 028-2893 at 2830R and 30 Beechcroft Road.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Gradwall,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
Yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Abstaining until I have a good grip of this project.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282893 at 2830R and 30 Beechcroft Road with the previously mentioned conditions, including 2-year monitoring, a opportunity at the pre-construction meeting to substitute up to maybe 20% of the trees with shrubs, using only organic chemicals and pesticides and fertilizers, and other conditions that have been discussed.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Gradwall,
yes,
Member Sargent,
yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Moving on, next up, notice from 1028-2899 Woodward Avenue, David Shu, to raise and rebuild single-family home, construct dock, ramp, float, and riverfront area and coastal resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Okay,
Yes,
then
good evening. Good evening,
Commissioner
Commissioners.
Cook's going to recuse from this also.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Go.
Having the
Name?
veteran of DeRosa Environmental here, representing Mr. David Shu for his proposed project at 52 Woodward Avenue. I do believe John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group is also online. If you could promote him, as well as the applicant, David Shu. While they're joining on, just to recap a little bit, we continued the project to the next meeting for a couple of reasons. The first being which we needed to receive comments from DMF and the Shellfish Constable. Second being the commission asked us to consider a permeable pavement instead of a bituminous driveway. And the last reason is the commission asked for profiles of the dock and the float. So since then, we have received all the comments from DMF and Shellfish, and we have submitted a revised plan and letter to supplement this notice of intent application. So I will start with the plan revisions, and I will share my screen. So this is the revised site plan that was submitted by John Moran. I hope you had all a chance to see this. So here it is. On the third page is sheet 3 of 3. It has the dock plan view, dock profile. Doing a little bit, and the dock profile. We revised the width of the dock to be 3 feet instead of 4 feet. And that gives us a 1-to-1 height to width ratio. We're hoping that since this has been approved in the past through Chapter 91 and other regulatory groups, because of the through flow decking that allows light to penetrate through and allows the salt marsh vegetation to grow, that the 1-to-1 height to width ratio will be considered by you all. Another plan revision that we made is we adjusted the posts closest to the salt marsh so that they are no more than 3 feet away from the edge to prevent possible erosion effects from scour. So those were the plan revisions. We did consider, we talked to the applicant about doing a permeable driveway. We still believe that the bituminous driveway that was proposed is the best for this site, considering that we have provided enough mitigation to manage the runoff from the bituminous driveway. And for the reasons that maintenance on a permeable driveway is a lot more extensive, and the risk of leakage, it's not easy, or you can't contain a leak if it spills onto a permeable driveway, whereas this one will be able to contain the spill. So those were the plan revisions, and then I'll just briefly go over the comments from Shellfish Constable. He didn't see any issues with the project moving forward. I hope you guys have a copy of that. And then the comments from DMF. They also didn't have any problems. They liked that we had the 30-inch standoff. They recommend that work will be conducted from the uplands down toward the water, which is what we were planning on doing. They recommended the floats be stored in the upland, which is what we planned on doing. And they also recommended that we consider doing salt marsh plantings instead of grass and shrubs, or potentially a mix. I talked to the applicant and he's fine. We can include salt marsh plugs into the planting plan, probably closest to the rock wall that's there. I don't want to replace them fully just because there is a change in elevation from the salt marsh to the planting area. And in case it doesn't, the salt marsh plantings don't work out, it'll still be fully vegetated with the grasses and shrubs that we presented. So I think that covered everything since the last meeting. Happy to answer any questions unless John or David, you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, Evan, the only thing I'd like to add, for the record, John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group. The only other thing that we did, Evan pretty much went over all the revisions. The commission asked for a condition to be added to the O&M plan that the maintenance logs be submitted to the city once a year. So we added a condition, it's condition C under general conditions 3C, that the maintenance logs be submitted to the city of Gloucester at the end of every year, i.e. by December 31st. We weren't sure if the city wanted it submitted to engineering and the Conservation Commission. So that's why we just left it a little vague as City of Gloucester. And as Evan pointed out, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, John.
Okay. With that, I'll open up for public comment first. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 52 Woodward Avenue may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 14 attendees. I have one hand up. Paul Philby.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, I'm the abutter next door, and after our meeting last week, Mr. Shu texted me and we talked on the phone as far as my concerns. And I don't know if you made a site visit. I'm very concerned about the erosion between my property and his property. There's quite a bit as the runoff from Woodward comes right between our two homes. So I'm very concerned that putting an impermeable driveway and will exacerbate the problem. He showed me the plan that was put into place, and my problem with it's kind of a spillage stuff, little spillage drainway, and it spills over, and I guess it kind of fills in the area underneath it. But I don't really understand how it works, but I do know there's a lot of leaves in this area, and leaves have particulates, and I just don't understand why that would not get clogged up as well, which would cause all the runoff to go and between our land, and even cause a Grand Canyon to form between our two properties. So I'm very concerned about having an impermeable driveway there. My second concern was my two huge trees that are right on the line. And Dave said that he was very aware of the tree and that he would watch the roots. Well, the tree is right on the property line, and it's about 2 feet away from the concrete sewage, the septic tank. And I'm sure that septic tank was probably put in the 1950s when the original house was built. So I'm sure that the tree's roots are wrapped into that septic tank. And also the amount of work that they're going to be having to do on that property, I just don't see how you're not going to be able to cut some of the big roots on that tree. So I am very concerned about the health of that tree. I noticed that this was not a concern that was raised among the three things that the environmental people put in. So that's and again, that tree provides shade for my house during the summertime. So I have every incentive to see that my trees survive. the third major concern I had was the wall and the retaining wall. And I guess Mr. Moran pointed out that there were 3 receptacles, probably for the septic tank overflow. Well, when the neighbor before the Shoes lived there, we were down and she let me put in some tomato gardens, and we tilled up that land, and I never did run into any type of receptacle. So Mr. Shoe again said that that whole retaining wall was going to be grandfathered in. And you know, if that's the way it is, but that's not the natural part of the marsh. So I would like to see the marsh reclaimed to what was its original grandeur. But you know, I mean, that's not my decision to be made, but I would like to see a little bit of reclamation there. So those again are my comments, and thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else with their hand up, Chuck?
We have no other hands up this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I close the public comment period. Next up would be commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier.
Always the trees. Trees don't do well with construction. So I guess my question is there any modification of that plan that could be done to move that construction further away from those trees?
Member Gretel.
I'm not pleased with the situation that they can't afford to go through the maintenance of a permeable driveway. It doesn't require outside machines. It doesn't require anything other than somebody going by with a shop vac on a monthly basis. You can't do it on a yearly basis, but on a monthly basis, you can go by with a shop vac and do just as good a job as the street cleaning people do, and a better job at the edges. So I don't agree with that statement that they can't, because of money, have a permeable driveway. We had a fine example of that right here on Shore Road in Magnolia of one family. It's about number 33 Shore Road. They put in the permeable driveway, and it's still nice. And every year I go by and he lets me throw some of his water onto it so I can see that it's still permeable.
Member Sargent. Yep, you're muted.
Thank you for providing a profile and agreeing to not install helical piles within 3 feet of the edge of the salt marsh. And thank you for reducing the width of the pier to 3 feet. However, in order to prevent shading, the height of the pier should be measured from the salt marsh vegetation and not from grade. As a result, the submittal does not achieve the proposed 1-to-1 ratio of height to width. Please make that minor adjustment. There should be a yearly inspection of the helical piles to ensure their structural integrity and to remove any C-rack that has been accumulated along its base. All materials should be non-toxic to the marine environment. All DMF and shellfish comments should be incorporated in the order of conditions, and there should be a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings and of salt marsh vegetation around and under the pier. Thank you.
Member Sherman.
I tend to agree with Member Gradwall regarding the driveway. This entire project is has a fairly large impact on the entire riverfront, and I would like to see that driveway is a permeable driveway.
Member Gullah.
Nothing to add that hasn't already been said at this time.
Member Jackson.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, with that, you heard the comments from the commissioners and from the neighbors. I don't know if you want to continue or rebut, but you're welcome to do either now.
Sure. I'll just speak to a couple of comments really quick. There was a comment about the trees. It's not possible to revise the plans further from the trees. The trees, it's a narrow lot, so we have to work with what we have, but we will do everything we can to protect those roots to ensure the health of the tree. We hear the commission's comments for a permeable driveway. We're wondering if it's possible, because there will be cars parked there and driven on frequently, if we could just have a portion of the driveway being permeable. The parking area that's located over the drainage system that John's designed. And then the throughway that's towards the garage could remain bituminous. I'm hoping we can discuss that a little more with the commission tonight. And then the next thing, I don't know if I understood Commissioner Sargent's 1-to-1 height to width ratio comment. If the width of the pier will be 3 feet wide, so it'll be 3 feet high above the salt marsh. I don't know if yeah, thank you.
Okay, perhaps because you didn't write it and the engineer did, it said 3 feet above grade.
Yeah, we meant 3 feet above the salt marsh.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that minor correction should be made.
Okay, thank you. John, is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
Yes, it's okay, I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Let me know when you can all see the plan.
Yep.
So I'll just make a few comments with regards to Mr. Philippe's comments. First of all, the entire paved driveway will be contained and is directed to this catch basin. There's actually a retaining wall along the front that'll also serve as a curb. So that runoff from this paved driveway will not reach this swale, which is the swale that he's talking about between his property and the subject property. With regards to the existing septic tank, what he's talking about, I'll just zoom in a little bit. The existing structure is right here. So the new structure is no closer to the house than the existing structure for this tree. So there should be no effect on the root system here. The existing septic tank, usually the standard operating procedure for the abandonment of a tank is you pump it, you crush it, and you backfill it. Other options are you puncture the bottom just to make sure that it won't hold water, and then you just fill it in with sand. The botanist, we can get a arborist out when they're doing this work and verify that, you know, what process will be the least intrusive to the tree roots associated with that tree. This swale itself that would be carrying the runoff from, you know, down between the property lines. And again, because we're proposing this retaining wall, which will work as a curb, some of the runoff that currently runs in that direction, which currently runs down between the two properties, will no longer get there because it's going to be caught by this wall and by this catch basin. So it's actually going to reduce the amount of runoff that's currently going down between the two properties. And the grass swale itself, it's got enough slope to it. So, you know, if you get leaves in it, the velocity of that runoff should carry the leaves through. If the leaves start piling up, somebody just has to go down and rake it out. It's not a whole lot of maintenance for that swale. And again, as Evan had pointed out, one option we were looking at, if the commission agreed to it, was we could actually keep the driveway to the garage as pavement. And then we could make the parking area or one of the parking spaces in the area either gravel or pavers. Again, the one thing we like about pavement, if you're parking cars on it and you get any sort of fluid leakage, you have the ability to clean it up. Whereas if you're sitting on pervious pavement, gravel or pavers, once it leaks, it hits the ground, it's gone. And the only way you're cleaning it up is digging it up. And if somebody doesn't see it, they're not even going to know that it happened. But if the commission does want pervious pavement, what'll happen is this whole area, we will replace that with pervious pavement, and then we will no longer need the chambers underneath. So we'll be able to eliminate those from the plan. But we would like to discuss with the commission the idea of potentially, keeping the pavement for the driveway coming in and making one or both of the parking spaces as permeable as requested. And most likely it would be either a gravel or a paver type construction. Thank you.
Thank you. So I mean, I don't know if anyone else has anything to add. There's a lot moving parts here. My feeling is I kind of like to let some of this settle in and continue, but you're allowed to have a vote if you want us to move to a vote. There were comments made by the neighbor. That tree is obviously a big concern with everybody. So I don't know if there can be some sort of agreement made. I don't know what you can do with that tree, but I have a feeling when construction starts, this gentleman's legitimately concerned about either it falling or being damaged to the point it'll have to be removed. I haven't been to the site, so I don't know exactly how bad this is, but the other items seem relatively manageable. But unless a commissioner has a different take, I wouldn't mind giving this another couple of weeks to mull it over.
I think if they have a professional arborist consult regarding the tree during the abandonment of the septic tank, and it's written in, they will follow those arborist recommendations, and they're willing to do the 2 parking spaces so that they're pervious, and to make the adjustment for the pier, and to follow the shellfish and DMF conditions, including at least a mix of the salt marsh planting along the grass and shrubs. I'm okay with the project.
Commissioners, anyone else have an issue? Mr. Moran or either you or Evan? It's your call here. You want us to go to a vote or?
I'd like to ask the applicant if you'd like to continue or if he would
Sure.
like to agree to Commissioner Jackson's.
Can you just say, if it's gonna save us money, I guess we could do the whole thing for one.
David, are you on? Was he on?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Well, just for clarification, if we ask for a vote, and it's declined, then we would have to just simply start this whole process over again, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, not the whole, I don't know what process, what path you're in yet, but if it's conservation, you would have, I think, go to DEP at that point. And
Okay.
ask for superseding order if it failed.
What we,
Right,
what we might do, go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead, you go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, what we might do is go through and see, given what I just stated, see what other information specifically they would need in order to make a decision on this hearing.
Okay. What do you think?
Well,
From us?
So I guess what we're
I'm
looking
not
for
sure from
is,
whom.
Yeah, who do you need more information from? I'm sorry.
I was just going to suggest that we go through the commission again and see specifically what information is needed, or are they comfortable making a decision tonight?
Member Charpentier?
The partial pervious driveway and one of those spaces being pervious makes no sense to me. And I'm still concerned about that tree because I think we've seen enough situations where contractors come in and they do what they want to do. So I don't know how how you're going to save a tree from construction equipment. I don't know.
We've worked with Ben Staples. He's an arborist in Mass. He comes out and he's there the whole time during construction and can air spade around the roots where necessary to avoid excavating closer to the roots. So the air spade can clear out the soils or closer to the roots than a machine could. So it's more of a surgical excavation near trees. So I think David would be willing to have an arborist out there doing some sort of protocol like that to ensure the safety of the tree.
So you're saying that someone would be there for that whole process?
When work is for that septic system close to that tree, yes.
well, it would be both trees, Evan, because you get the other tree. The other one's a little further from the lot line.
Mm.
And there's not as much work. There's very minimal grading going on right next to that one. I mean, obviously, people have the right to do work on their property. And if the roots from that tree, I mean, if they went all the way across this lot, for example, somebody still has the right to do work on their property. But what Evan's pointing out is during the construction, they can have the arborist out there at that point when they're doing that work next to that tree, like the excavation for that, the foundation, for example. And they could evaluate the situation at that point and do what they can to minimize the impacts to that root system.
Thank you, John.
I'd be happy with that, as long as someone in the know can actually be there when that happens. That helps me move this forward for me.
Is there anything else, Member Charpentier?
No, not at this time.
Member Gradwell?
The only thing that I had a comment on there, if you're going to use doing a partial driveway of being impervious, I then don't think that you can remove the tanks that you had. I think you'd have to leave those.
Text her, see if we would save it.
You've
No,
got to make up.
You're 100% correct, Commissioner Gradwell. If we still leave the paved driveway, the catch basin will stay there. We'll also still keep the two chambers. We won't reduce it, even though technically we'll have less impervious coverage. We could reduce probably to one chamber, but we would still leave the two. That system would all still be intact. The only thing we'd have to double check is we may have to beef up the chamber. They are designed for H20 loading. However, when you change the surface over it from pavement to more of a permeable surface like the gravel, we may need to slightly sink those chambers a little more to get a little more cover. But the chambers would stay.
Oh, they would stay.
Then I would have no problem if you would agree to that as part of the conditions.
And that would be fine.
Member Sargent?
I was very happy with Commissioner Joe Jackson's conditions. They would be fine with me.
Member Sherman?
That's right.
In my opinion, I believe that if we're going to vote, we should vote on the project as proposed. And I don't think it's a great idea to try to condition partial driveways and partial pervious and impervious surfaces, I think we should either continue or vote on the proposal as it is.
And Member Gola?
I have nothing more to add.
Okay, and Member Jackson?
100%, do we?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, with that then, I guess you want to move to a vote. I don't see, it looks like it will pass. I mean, we have enough people to vote on it. So it's in a more favorable position, I think, for most. So is that your stated?
Yeah.
I need the applicant to say, I want to go for a vote.
Do we have to say it? I want to go for a vote.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282899 at 52 Woodward Avenue.
Charpentier seconds?
Okay, roll call. Member Charpentier?
Yes.
Member Gredwell?
Yes.
Member Sargent?
Yes.
Member Sherman?
Yes.
Member Gola?
No, I mean, yes, sorry, Jesus.
Member Jackson?
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282899 at 52 Woodward Avenue with the previously mentioned conditions, including an arborist on site during work around the two trees near the property line of the abutter, 2 parking spaces with pervious surfaces, the pier to be 3 feet above the salt marsh, not above grade, and following the DMF and Shellfish Commission comments, including considering a mix or using a mix of the salt marsh plantings along with the plant mentioned.
Charpentier seconds?
Okay, roll call. Member Charpentier?
Yes.
Member Gredwell?
Yes.
Member Sargent?
Yes.
Member Sherman?
No.
Member Gola?
Yes.
Member Jackson?
Yes.
And I'd like to request, if we can have those changes put into a fresh plan, so it's all on a plan that we can include. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
You
Good night.
too.
Okay, next up, new business. Notice of intent 28-2880, 6 Stanwood Point, Joseph Pellich. Construction of a dock float in Little River, riverfront area, BVW, salt marsh, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Mary Rimmer of Rimmer Environmental Consulting, LLC, representing.
And
Go ahead, Chuck.
yeah, Mary had a late request today to continue to March 1st.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282880 at 6 Stanwood Point to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 1st, 2023.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Member Charpentier?
Yes.
Member Cook?
Yes.
Member Gredwell?
Yes.
Member Sargent?
Yes.
Member Sherman?
Yes.
Member Gola?
Yes.
And Member Jackson?
Yes.
Okay. Next up, amendment notice of intent 28-2821, 186 Hesperus Avenue. Walter and Hurley Nancy Legrande? How do you pronounce that? Legrande. Amendment to NOI 0282821 to reduce size of approved house footprint and to rebuild existing pool and riverfront and buffer zone to coastal resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage. William Manuel, Wetlands Land Management, Inc., representing.
Hi, good evening. This is Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management, and I'll just pop the screen up. So it wasn't long ago that the commission approved an order of conditions to do a big renovation on the home here. And that work is underway. I think most of the exterior framing work has been done. The house is probably closed in by now, or close to it. In the back of the garage, the commission actually approved a large 500 square foot wood shop right in this area here. I'll zoom in a little bit. And I guess woodworking's out of vogue now, so they're not doing the wood shop. And there was attached to that approved wood shop was a 130 square foot bluestone patio, which was going to be right in this location. So what we're doing now is not doing the wood shop and not doing the patio, but adding a greenhouse here, an 8x12 greenhouse. So what that does is it reduces the impervious surface on the site by 534 square feet. That's an awesome improvement. And even more so for the commission, the applicants have opted to honor their initial approved mitigation plan, which was based off of the original square footage, the 534 additional. So the commission now is getting better than 2-to-1 mitigation for the increase of impervious area. And all of that mitigation area is in this location. It was all approved with the original order of conditions. So this is a reduction of scope of work for the project. So now focusing on the pool here, there is an existing built-in pool. It is fairly old and in need of repair. The outline of the existing pool is actually in the area that I have shaded in blue. And you'll see the new pool. Well, let me just describe the area a little bit. So the pool itself is the area that I've highlighted in blue. It has some rather grand masonry walls that surround the pool, and then this is the coastal bank seawall along the edge of the grass here. So the pool is actually built right into the concrete wall here. And there's a nice little lookout area, if you will, a concrete patio, circular concrete patio that is looks out over the ocean here. So the new pool is going to be smaller and it's rectangular in shape, and that's the heavy black line that I have here, and that's going to fit basically right inside the old pool. The old pool gets demoed. This existing bluestone surface gets demoed. It's aged, and that's going to be replaced in kind. There are some nice masonry walls here that are sort of asymmetrical with the entire layout. So a little bit of the stonework here will be demoed and salvaged, and then nice symmetrical masonry walls leading into the pool patio area will be constructed. So these areas highlighted in orange will be constructed. We will need a new propane and electric service from the house, and that will cut right across the grass in this location. It pretty much follows what we believe is the path of the current electric service, and the filter and heater are located right here, and that's where the new components will go as well. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nice mature trees around the area. None of those will be disturbed. They're all going to be preserved. As a matter of fact, other than this little bit of masonry work here, this entire wall remains intact. So it's an ultimate sort of, sometimes we put erosion control barrier up to establish the limit of work, but here we have a nice masonry wall to establish the limit of work. All the demo material is going to be dug out and then loaded directly. It'll be most likely transferred from this site up to the road, where it'll be loaded into a truck for removal from the site immediately. And then the new pool is installed. It's a new in-ground pool, and so we And this little circular patio, that'll get resurfaced as well. At the end, we'll put a new safety fence up, and that's this little red line right through here. So there's no increase of impervious surface. It's rebuilding the pool smaller than what is there, and I think it'll be a nice improvement and a nice upgrade. So we're asking to amend the order of conditions to reflect this revised plan.
Okay. First, we'll move to public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 186 Hesperus Avenue may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 12 attendees and I have no hands up.
Okay. So why don't we move on to commissioner comments?
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
No comments.
Member Cook.
No comments.
Member Gradwell.
No comment.
Member Sargent.
No comment.
Member Sherman.
No comments.
Member Gullo.
No comments as well. I think it's an interesting trade-off.
And Member Jackson.
No comment.
So with that then, Chuck, anything to add? Any concern?
Nope.
Okay. I guess we move to a vote for the amendment.
And moves to close the public hearing for AMD NOI 0282821 at 186 Hesperus Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Sherman.
Yes.
Member Gullo.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve amendment net for NOI 0282821 at 186 Hesperus Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Sherman.
Yes.
Member Gullo.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I wish they were all that easy. Have a
So
good
do I.
night.
Good night.
No trees.
Next up is amendment ANRAD 0282876 187 Atlantic Street. Michael Procopio, amendment to abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Mary Rimmer of Rimmer Environmental Consulting LLC representing.
Thank you very much. I believe Kevin Procopio is on the line as well. This is a request for an amendment to an order of resource area delineation. The commission issued for this parcel in October. DEP intervened on that intervention. They had some questions and concerns about the resource delineation, particularly the coastal bank delineation. So they did a site walk. We went back and forth with some plans. There were some revisions made in 3 locations. And we updated the plans, have provided those to you. DEP is in agreement that rather than issuing a superseding order of resource area delineation, that the simplest course would be to have the commission issue an amended order reflecting the updated plans. And once that's received, DEP will withdraw its appeal of the project. All the changes that were made, I think, like I said, there were 3 changes where the coastal bank delineation came further inland, so you have more resource area protection under this ORAD, under the amended ORAD.
Okay. With that, I'll open up a public comment period. This is the period where the public can speak to the project at 187 Atlantic Street. You may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 9 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, so with that, why don't we move on to commissioner comments?
Okay, Member Charpentier.
No comment.
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Gradwell,
No comment.
Member Sergeant,
comment,
Member Sherman,
No comment.
Member Gulla,
Nothing to add.
and Member Jackson.
No comment.
Okay, so anyone have anything on this amendment to talk about? Okay, if not, we'll move to close the hearing, I guess.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for amendment for NRAD 0282876 at 187 Atlantic Street.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gulla,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve amendment for NRAD 0282876 at 187 Atlantic Street.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gulla,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. You're all
Appreciate
set,
that. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Next up, notice of intent. Do we have a DEP number for this yet, Chuck, or no?
We do. It came in. It is 2,900.
2900. Oof. Big round number. Okay. Notice of intent 0282900 337 Concord Street. Jeffrey Roberts, construction of a farm pond for irrigation and fire protection within buffer zones bordering vegetated wetland and ACEC. Anthony Capichetti from Hayes Engineering representing.
They should be promoting now.
Okay. Tony, you there?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just promoted to panelist, so it took a second to come back on. If you don't mind, I'll share my screen and go through the project. This is the Five Stones Farm at 337 Concord Street, rather.
Go ahead.
So, it's a notice of intent. It's filed as a limited project under 310 CMR 1053G. This is for a construction of an irrigation and fire
Get
pond.
echo from your device there, Anthony. I think you need to just speak a little slower. You're getting some echo.
Sorry about that. Let me just check my mic on this. Oh, they're both. If it persists, let me know. I'll go a little bit slower. So the project site is an 81-acre parcel in active agricultural use. Outlined in yellow roughly to show you the extent of the parcel. It goes to the lake of the creek. And the resource areas on the site are BVW and isolated wetlands shown in the pinkish purple color. There's bordering land subject to flooding at elevation 13. Actually, it's land subject to coastal stone flowage. I apologize. And the ACAC is elevation 9, which is wholly inside that land subject to coastal stone flowage. They grow berries, fruits. They raise some chickens here. It is an agricultural use. They do turn a profit. As I said, it's 81.2 acres of land area in agricultural use. The primary structure, the house, is 2,000 feet from the Concord Street right-of-way. So there's no fire protection on the site. They have a sole single well here that provides fire, irrigation, and potable water for the site. And there's, as I said, no other means for irrigation or fire protection. Under limited projects, subsection G of 1053.3 says excavation wildlife impoundments, farm ponds, and ponds for fire protection are allowed provided no fill or other materials placed upon the wetland except to be necessary to construct said impoundments or ponds, provide access thereto, and provide bank stabilization. This is wholly an export project. We're not proposing to fill any wetlands. We're actually seeking to expand them. The area of the project here is an old farm pond. There's actually an existing berm that breaks these two wetlands and located in this wetland here. This is a kind of an overall scale showing the existing house, the existing well. There's an existing farm road network. And then what we're looking to do is to dig down in the existing wetlands. We do lose a couple of smaller trees, but the specimen trees, we've gone through great care to maintain in this area. And then we're providing a robust planting plan as well to improve the wildlife habitat of this area. As you zoom in, the existing water elevation is 19.5. This earth berm exists. There's a 4-inch pipe and a spillway. We would be removing the 4-inch pipe, providing a spillway with a foot of freeboard, and this would provide 300,000 gallons of storage for irrigation and firefighting purposes with a foot of emergency freeboard. So should anything happen, a large rainstorm, it would go up to elevation 20.5 before going out controlled through a spillway that would be constructed of a few pieces of vertical granite curbing in a riprap area, but there's no filling associated. This is strictly a excavation project, and then there would be an 8-inch cement line ductile iron pipe going to the bottom of the pond, or about a foot off the bottom, with a standpipe and 2 bollards to protect that standpipe, so a pumper truck could hook onto this and avail itself to the storage in there, as well as any farm equipment they could pump up to the nearby orchards, which are down in this area here. The planting plan is wildlife friendly. We're saving the larger trees. There's a large oak here, a couple of maples up in this area here. So we've really tried to. There's 2. I'm sorry. Red oaks here that we're working to protect and not impact that area. There's some specimen trees here that we're not. Some maples, and I forget what this last one is. I believe this is a spruce. We're trying not to disturb the root zones and maintain those existing plants, as well as add other plants around the area that include blueberry, serviceberry, winterberry for forage, as well as red maple, red oak, and some red osier dogwood, and then a seed mixture in the shaded area along the bank. And I'm told this was we can see from the evidence that it was a previous pond. I found a historic aerial. You can see the previous impoundment. This was back in 1971. This is probably the best picture. It kind of gets treed in the more you get through there, but the owners are set up until about 1983. That pond was in use, so the caretakers, I apologize. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I understand that some of the commissioners were out on a site walk and had a chance to inspect the property. We're not changing the water level. The existing water level is at 19.5, and that's what we're intending to keep it at. And this will be into the groundwater, mainly surface water fed from the runoff that comes through that valley.
Okay. First off, I'll open it up. Is that it? Are you good?
Yes, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, first off, I'll open up for public comment. Anyone in the public is welcome to speak for or against the project at 337 Concord Street. You may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 5 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay.
Looking at the attendees, those most of them seem like they're party to this project.
Oh, party to it's working for the project.
Correct.
I see. Okay, so seeing none, hearing none, a closed public comment period. Next up would be to do commissioner roll call comments.
All right, roll call. Member Charpentier.
No comment.
Member Cook.
No comments.
Member Gradwell.
No comment.
Member Sargent.
Yeah, I'm curious if the bottom of the proposed pond would have a clay or similar barrier, and if not, is it proposed to be scarified? And I have some concerns about the impact the changes and a consistent newly established water level might have on existing vegetation, as well as on mitigation plantings, specifically the root structures. So I'd like a condition that to be a 2-year monitoring for all vegetation around the pond below elevation 22. Thank you.
Member Sherman?
If I may, I'm just going to read something quickly from the Wetlands Protection Act. Bordering vegetated wetlands are probably the Commonwealth's most important inland habitat for wildlife. The hydraulic regime, plant community composition and structure, soil composition and structure, topography, and water chemistry bordering vegetated wetlands provide important food, shelter, migratory and overwintering areas, and breeding areas for many birds, mammals, amphibians, and reptiles. I just feel like it's unfortunate that much of this bordering vegetated wetlands will be eliminated by the creation of this pond. And while I appreciate the attempt to try to recreate that vegetation around the pond, I still feel like it's especially in the the buffer zone of the ACEC. I think it's an unfortunate loss of bordering vegetated wetlands.
Okay, Member Gola?
No additional comments, but Chuck, did DEP have any comments on this?
There's no comments on the site, so. Okay. Member Jackson?
I have no comment.
Okay, so anybody have anything to add to this? Or yes, we should discuss it now, otherwise we'll move to close the hearing, I guess.
I guess I did have some questions. I saw a lot of flags. So Devin and I, the assistant agent, and I were the ones that made the site visit. I did see a lot of other flags from I assume the wetland delineation out there, but I didn't see any real information on who did the delineation or when it was done, or how it was done. If there's any paired pit analysis or So, I saw evidence that more had gone on than I saw in the report presenting the work.
So the wetlands were flagged as part of the previous work throughout the site. I think originally done by Meridian Associates and then confirmed by Elizabeth Wallace from our office. Subsequent to that, we had taken the project over. They had some violations during the original farm construction. We worked through that and got the farm and home permitted and constructed. This area, in the area of the pond, was flagged about 1.5 years ago by Elizabeth Wallace, Libby Wallace from our office, and then surveyed in the field by Hayes Engineering. There are other flags throughout the site, and that was kind of probably remnants of the area going up. There were some control flags as well as the other wetlands throughout the site. We're only looking for a permit relative to this area of work. And that's the area of wetland flags that we have established up to the berm in this location here. The downhill side is, we did not flag again.
Okay. Commissioners, anything else to add? Concerns? Okay.
Would you like me to address the 2 open questions about the bottom of the pond? And
yeah, if you'd like to, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the bottom of the pond, we are not specifying a clay liner. That's because it'll be in the water table, so it won't be a losing wetlands. We're not above the water table. We have to issue that. Estimated water, fluctuates out there. Seasonal high of about 19.5, and then drops, between 3 and 4 feet. So we'd be fluctuating between 15.5, 16 to 19.5 in that area. As far as the loss of BVW, our thought was we're going to be gaining the land under water body resource area, and then trying to replicate as much as possible along the benches, the BVW along the fringe, so it acts in a natural manner and does provide that wildlife habitat out there, as well as given its location, open water in this area also provides some benefits for migratory birds as well. So we do think that it's probably a wash as far as habitat. And we would expect any condition that would require monitoring of the growth of the plantings long-term, because we do want to make sure that this survives, and the wetland plants help with water quality as well. So that it's actually a good thing for irrigation purposes and fire protection purposes.
So the part with the fire protection, I'm curious. I mean, is it because of the dry year we had last year? Was there a fire? I mean, this seems unique to me. I don't ever remember permitting something like this.
Well,
Common with
they've made a heavy investment into the home and structures out here. They have a single well, and if there was ever a fire, we're talking a fire truck having to run hose almost a half a mile to the house, and that's from the nearest hydrant in the area. That's assuming the hydrant's right up here. Between irrigation in the dry months, as well as the added benefit of fire protection, that's what we're looking at. And we did look at some other sites. It needed to be surface water fed for the most part, and there's a large swale that comes through the site. And the caretaker had been there for a while. I don't know if he's on the call, but he did mention that there was a pond out here. We did find the outlet control structure, so we're trying to maintain historically what was a pond for that use.
Okay, I mean, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or anything here, but there is a field in the middle of somewhere else that couldn't be utilized. It's already a disturbed area. That couldn't be utilized as a fire or pond.
So if we were to put a pond in this area here, we would then need to take all the water that's coming this way naturally and divert it to get the surface flow into that pond. In the dry season, you're not going to just have the groundwater itself. So our goal is to take all this. There's a large swale that runs through here that's feeding this wetland, and basically hold some of that water back for other uses. The Tidal Creek doesn't really care about how much water it's receiving. So the BVW does. So being able to intercept that water and reuse it seemed like the most logical way to handle this.
I'm not sure I understand why couldn't it be put somewhere else or in that field that's there already?
We'd have to take the water that's coming by the field and flowing out. There's a large valley that runs through there, and all the runoff runs down through this wetland system and divert it away from the wetland.
Away from the field and towards your recommended
So,
area.
Yes, it runs kind of down around the back of the field. Let me see if I have the USGS map here.
I mean, I'm just looking at options because it is a sensitive area. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it does concern me a little bit, especially after what Mr. Sherman read, that, you know, this is you really can't recreate what nature did, and we're trying to just see if there's another option, that's all.
So this is basically the area here that we're looking to build the pond. And what you have is all the water from the surrounding area runs through this valley.
I can't see it right
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have not?
now. I'm sharing screen right now.
Is the USGS map?
I'm not seeing it.
Share your screen again.
Oh, sorry about that. So the USGS map shows the area that we're looking to put the pond is right around here in this valley that runs between the two hills. And this is kind of the opening where the orchard is. We'd be up at the top and need to take the water that's flowing into this wetland system and divert it away from the wetlands. So you'd be doing more harm to the wetlands by starving it from the base flow that it's receiving currently, rather than impounding it there.
Understood. Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, any other comments?
Well, I would like to, since I haven't been to the site, I would like to ask the agent, since he has been out there, if he happened to notice any alternative sites that would not involve, essentially eliminating this BVW. In other settings, ecological restorations, it is required that alternative sites be explored. And so I'd just like to know from Chuck if he saw any other place where this could be put that isn't essentially destroying this BVW.
We basically just looked at the proposed site. We did not look around the property for any other alternative sites during our visit.
I would just jump in and say, if the applicant would be so kind as to give us another couple of weeks for the agent to just go out and take a peek and see if there's anything that, him and his agent, the assistant, might be able to find an opportunity. We're not looking to cause, we're just trying to do what's right for the environment. So if you could just give us that 2 weeks, that'd be appreciated. You don't have to, you can have us go to a vote, but I think we'd appreciate the 2 weeks to just have the agent take a little walk.
I think that's reasonable. I wasn't available at the last site walk. I'd like to attend with the agent if that's okay, and then we can walk the areas and kind of go through how we came up with this location.
Sure, that'd be great. I appreciate that. Okay, so with them, we'll continue, move to continue unless someone has another comment or two to add. No, so why don't we move to continue to
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282900 at 337 Concord Street to the meeting of February 15th. Does that work?
work for the applicant?
That works for me, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gulla,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you again. We'll see you in 2 weeks. You should communicate with Chuck. Chuck, can you communicate with the applicant and?
I'll shoot him an email now so he has my contact info and we'll coordinate a time. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, what do we have next here? Certificates of compliance. We don't have any violations. Notice of intent 0282832 97 Leonard Street. Enforcement order for non-compliant retaining wall and associated fill. Maureen Herald, Norse Environmental Inc. representing.
Yeah, actually, John Judd has officially taken over for that. The update I have out there is I did make a site visit. They have staked the location of where the wall was originally proposed. They have staked out the boundary of the vegetation, wetland vegetation area that was proposed, the mitigation area, and also the split rail fence that's going to be eventually put in to protect that area. So I did confirm the locations of those the other day in the field and gave them the go-ahead to start the remediation of that. So we will continue to follow up on that one.
Good. Anybody want to talk about that, or are we good? It's been the bane of my existence when it comes to projects, I'll tell you. That one's just haunted me. Okay, I'm glad to hear it's moving ahead, though. All right. Anything else, Chuck? Anybody have anything to add? Linda, are you okay? You sound sick.
I have a sinus infection.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just annoying. Thank you for asking.
Oh, that's good. Okay. All right. So I guess we're good to go for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, move to adjourn.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Present.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gulla,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
At all. Take care.
I
I just turned it on.
coming out to get some